This 7200 f2.8 VR is the Nikon's first full-frame telephoto lens in the S lineup. The lens has 9 rounded aperture blades with a maximum aperture of 2.8. ED, fluorite and SI elements reduce the color fringing and chromatic aberration. The Arneo and nano crystal coats suppress flares, ghosting and improve the contrast. 2 stepping motors enable fast and silent focusing. It can focus as close as 50 centimeters. The lens costs 2.5 lakh rupees, and is it really worth it? Long story short, yes, but to whom? Let's find out. Most portrait photographers love the 7200 range because of the versatility. You can zoom in and zoom out and compose your frame, right? So it is so versatile, and it also gives you the beautiful background separation. That's the reason most of the lens manufacturers make this focal range. Zoom is just one part of the story. The other part is the constant aperture. This lens has a maximum aperture of 2.8 no matter what focal length you're shooting at. So the 2.8 is already considered fast aperture, so you can this enables you to shoot even in low light conditions with the available light. So this lens is brilliant in that aspect. All these days I've only been using the 50mm 1.8 S lens. That's the only lens I have. That lens is sharp. Sharp is such an overused word, but it is really sharp. This lens, the 7200, just blows it out of the water. This lens is the sharpest I've ever seen in any 7200, I think. I took a picture of my friend at 200mm at the closest focusing distance of this lens, which is about 1 meter actually. And this is a 300% zoom crop of that image of his eye. Look at the details. Look at how sharp this lens is. This is truly sharp. Usually for telephoto lenses like these, I don't generally care about the edge-to-edge sharpness, okay? Because I'm going to place the subjects in the middle as much as possible, or at least towards the rule of thirds or something of the sort, not towards the edges, not towards the extremes of the frame. But if the lens can produce edge-to-edge details, edge-to-edge sharpness, I should definitely give credit to that. And this lens is sharp edge to edge. The sharpness of the lens generally falls off towards the edges. That's fine. This lens is no different as well. But the fall off is very minimal. Very minimal. Even at the extremes, you can still recover or have so much detail. It is so sharp. So this lens is extremely sharp and one of the sharpest lenses I've ever used, honestly speaking. The bokeh on this lens is pretty smooth. It has a lot of character and it is really smooth without any notable color fringing. This lens can focus as close as 0.5 meters, half a meter at 70mm and about 1 meter at 200mm. This is the closest focusing 7200 I've ever seen. Usually the 7200 lenses focus much farther away, but this is a massive, significant improvement. In photography mode with single point AF, the focus shift is snappy, and also it can keep up with moving subjects when it's in the tracking mode, but it can only focus as fast as the camera can push it to, right? So it is dictated by the camera body. When it comes to videos, the 7200 keeps up with the subject smoothly, steadily, and more importantly, absolutely silently. The focus shift is smooth and cinematic when done in proper settings. The G lenses on the FTZ adapter is pretty snappy, even with video autofocus, but I'm not a big fan of that. if you want to do video work, I think the S-line lenses are the best in Nikon. Mind you, this lens is extremely sharp. Some might not be even comfortable with that level of sharpness, so you might want to soften it up with filters or something of the sort. So be prepared for that. This lens is way too sharp for video work. Some may not be comfortable with that level of sharpness. As Nikon promised, the focus breathing is minimal. Unless you really look forward, you can't see that. And it takes a little bit of getting used to just see the focus shift than anything else changing in the frame. Right? Nothing else changes in the frame. Just the focus shifts from one place to another place. That is a characteristic of cine zooms, which are like at least 10 times more expensive than this lens. That is truly remarkable. When it comes to noise while autofocusing, this lens has zero noise. It is completely silent. The f-mount lenses, other than the AFP lenses from Nikon, are usually pretty noisy, but this lens is truly inaudible. You can just feel the movement while it's focusing. You can feel that in the barrel, but it is truly silent, absolutely silent. Surprisingly, the G lens shows more parafocal capability than this lens. I don't understand why. Don't get me wrong, both the lenses are not parafocal lenses. It's how good the autofocus can keep up with the zoom, right? This lens misses the focus in the middle a little bit, but the G lens keeps up really well. I don't understand that particular aspect, but that's the way it is. The display on the top toggles between aperture, focal length, and the focus distance. Since the mirrorless lenses are all focused by wire, you can't reliably have all these markings on the lens, but the Z lens lineup is the only lens to have some sort of information, some distance marking electronically on the lens. It can be really useful for astrophotographers because they need to see something in pitch dark conditions, right? And also for photographers who use hyperfocal length a lot. So this lens could come really handy for that matter. And also having some sort of focal distance marking somewhere on the lens is easier for videography work. You need to have a range where the focus could be. So that is truly important for videography. And also, if you are used to using the focus markings on your lenses, you will not miss out anything using this lens because it has electronic focus distance marking. The only thing that I have is maybe, since it's all electronic, they could have added much more precise values than just the normal values, 3 meters, 8 meters and all those sort. Maybe they should have done a decimal value number, a float number, so you can precisely know where the focus point is. But it could be upgraded with the firmware, maybe, but that would have been fantastic. The lens has 6 buttons on it. One is for the lens function 1, and there is the other one for display button, and there are 4 more buttons which are just a group. I thought we could add like 5 different functionalities on this lens and have custom buttons on this lens, but that's not the case. I was totally wrong. You have 4 function 2 buttons because you can access the button in any orientation you want. There is this control ring on the lens which can be used for aperture, ISO and white balance. When the camera body is attached, the center of gravity of the whole system is somewhere here, right? And that is where the focus ring is. This is an autofocus lens. We use the zoom ring more than the focus ring, right? That makes sense. But having the focus ring where the hand is naturally placed is a little bit uncomfortable because you use the zoom ring much more than the focus ring, and the focus ring is extremely sensitive. A slight turn or disturbance will switch to manual focus. So I think the focus ring should have been in the front and the zoom ring here where you naturally place the fingers. So it'll be much easier to zoom like this than like this. For some reason, I really wish the zoom ring was here. There may be some engineering compromises to be done for the better optical quality. I'm not really sure, but if they could do that, it'd be really fantastic. If there is one complaint about this lens to make, it would be the VR switch. The vibration reduction switch is not on the body of the lens. It is to be set from the camera body, and I'm not a big fan of that, I'm sorry, but the vibration reduction should have been on the lens. But however, the VR is so good on this lens and it is pretty stable. The manual focus lens is so smooth. It's really smooth. If you want to do a manual focus pull, I think you will enjoy with this because it's also really responsive. Since it's a focus by wire lens, repeatable focus pull may not be possible with this lens. Keep that in mind. That is a limitation, we can't help that. But the manual focus pull is so smooth and the focus ring is buttery smooth, seriously. You will enjoy focus pulling manually with this lens. Even the zoom ring is smooth, but it is not as smooth as the focus ring. It has a little bit of resistance to it, which is acceptable and expected actually. And also the zoom ring is about only 45 degrees or maybe 60 degrees, I'm not sure. That's it. So you can zoom in really fast. That's it. You don't have a long throw. That's it. So easy. The lens has a 77mm filter thread in the front, and the ND filters or any other filters that you're going to buy are not going to be super expensive, not like this 82 or 105mm threads. So it's a really good sweet spot. And also this lens is a little bit bulkier than the VR2 lens that I have. I can sense that, I can feel that the circumference is truly bigger. And I used to hold the lens like this much confidently, but I can't hold it for much longer. I think this lens is a little bit bigger than the 7200 VR2 lens that I have. And also this lens is heavier. This lens is about 1.3 kilos or 3 pounds, and the lens is about 22 centimeters long, and these are the physical dimensions of the lens. This lens I think is truly remarkable. If you are a working professional, I'm sure you will enjoy using this lens. If there is no return of investment, maybe you should not consider buying this, but if there is return of investment, I think you should invest in this lens. And also this lens is COVID friendly. You can take pictures of your clients from a safe distance, right? It's a zoom lens. Anyway, I will see you all in the next video. Until then, bye-bye.